Hi, this is Tad from Island, and today I'm joined by Adam Thompson, who's an SE based in Pittsburgh. Hey, so you were just telling me about an interesting customer that you're working with who's in the business process outsourcer or BPO industry. Can you tell me more?
Yeah, absolutely. Really neat customer to work with. Um, if you're familiar with the BPO, typically what they're doing is they're helping smaller organizations outsource in areas where they struggle. So you could imagine a situation where you have a small business, maybe you have 10, 15 employees, and you're potentially offering a web service, and now you need customer support. Rather than staffing your own customer support, you could go to this company and say, I need someone to answer the help desk, I need someone to answer the phone, reply to support tickets. And so what they'll do is they'll give you 4 employees who will do around the clock service for you and help you with those back end processes.
Nice. And how are they using Island?
Well, traditionally, they've been using things like VDI and deploy devices for this scenario. So if you can imagine how cumbersome that is today, you got to get a device, you got to put your software on it, you got to ship it somewhere, typically overseas. That person needs to pull it up, start using it. Just a very cumbersome process. And so what they came to Island for is to help reduce some of that time to delivery and remove some of the cumbersome process of deploying software and desktop services to their end users.
And I know in this, speaking with other folks in this industry, one of the challenges there is that because we have the BPOs working with multiple other client customers, that idea of keeping data segmented is really critical. How are we helping them achieve that with the Island browser?
Yeah, so data privacy is very important. Obviously, if I'm going to outsource my backend processes, you're seeing my customer list, you're getting to see some of my PII. And so keeping that data contained is very important. So with Island, rather than using something that's like VDI, where you're looking at a HTML5 stream version of the content, you can actually get the real content, but still get all the protection of remote browser isolation or VDI. And so they're primarily using Island for that data isolation and to create application boundaries. They had a lot of challenges around securing these web apps that aren't really CASB friendly. So you could think of something like Zendesk, a very feature-rich support tool, but maybe it doesn't have all the CASB capabilities that Salesforce does. And so rather than sending that through a reverse proxy and doing things that are unnatural, they can just use Island to front end that application and get all their data security and data privacy needs.
So in this way, you're helping them not only with the security, but it sounds like you've also improved the user experience for those BPO staff who don't have to go through the complexity of a VDI setup anymore.
Yeah, and equally important, you get to improve the experience for the business who's outsourcing. So you could think if you're a person calling into a help desk center, and we've all been there, right? They say, my system's slow, let me give it a minute to load. Well, now you're sitting there for 10 or 15 seconds while this high latency VDI spins up. We're able to remove that scenario completely.
It's a great point. I have lived through that dozens and dozens of times. I'm sure we all have. Is there anything else that you've learned from this customer that you want to share?
Yeah, I think what was really neat is this customer really gets it. So they've been through the pain and they needed a solution. They looked at one of our competitors. A friend of a friend had mentioned a competitor, and they checked them out. It wasn't quite feature rich enough. They really needed that screenshot protection that Island can offer. They wanted to be able to really isolate their data. But the terminology they use, which was new to me, is they call it a clean desk policy. So when every user logs on, they want to give them a acceptable use policy that says you need to adhere to our clean desk policy and here are the roles. And so with Island, we could tailor that messaging per application and per audience. So for a particular group of users, they could just say, here's how we want you to use this data, here's how we want you to use this application, and then we could coach them the whole way through. So just a really neat use case. I'm excited to work with them and help them achieve their goals.
I like that. The clean desk policy. That's perfect. Well, hey, Adam, thanks so much for sharing your story, and we'll have you back here soon.
Great. Thanks, Tad.